Right, to welcome everybody to our webinar tonight on the World Football Summit case study. It's a pleasure to have all of you connecting here. And it's a great pleasure to have our special guest, Jean Alesi, the director of the World Football Summit. So Jean, welcome to tonight's webinar.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me again, another year.
For another year, we're connecting and we're getting a chance to learn more about the World Football Summit. I'll just briefly introduce myself for those that may not have attended any of our previous webinars. My name is Diego Valdez. I'm the director at the Sports Business Institute Barcelona. And what we do is we specialize in providing educational training for those that are looking to start or advance their career, particularly in the business side of sports and focused on the football industry. So it makes sense to have our guest tonight, Jean, the director of the World Football Summit, because we're going to have an interesting conversation. In just a moment, we're going to begin. We have a few questions lined up for John. But before we do that, I just want to make sure that the sound is coming through okay on everybody's end. So what I'd ask you to do is in the chat box on the right-hand side, if you could type in your name and the city where you're connecting from or the country where you're connecting from, and that'll tell us two things, that the sound is working on your end and also where you're coming from and where the audience is connecting from tonight. So I'll give you a couple minutes just to do that on the chat box. And in the meantime, Jean, perhaps you can tell us a little bit as well about your background as we get more people telling us where they're coming from. So a bit of an introduction on yourself as well.
Well, as you might have noticed from my name, despite World Football Summit being a Spanish company and being based in Madrid, I'm not Spanish. I'm actually half Italian, half Dutch. Grew up, well, was born actually in Rome, but then moved to Spain when I was 7 and grew up in Spain. Then did my university in the UK, but most of my professional career has taken place in Spain. And I'm a director of World Football Summit, and I'm also one of the co-founders of the summit. The first edition of World Football Summit took place in October 2016. And World Football Summit is actually not a company in itself. It's a brand that belongs to a company called Nexus Fostering Partnership. Nexus Fostering Partnership was set up by myself in 2006. And it's a company that promoted and still does promotes commercial relations between Spain and different countries. And it's a company that specialized especially in organizing business meetings, business conferences, and matchmaking. So bringing people together. Nexus, most of the events that they organized were events organized between foreign delegations or representatives of different countries that wanted to strengthen business ties and commercial ties with Spain. So Nexus became a company that was specialized in organizing these business meetings and these business conferences. And through the different events that we started to elaborate, the idea of building and starting a larger conference on a specific industry started. And we found a niche in the football industry. In Spain, we found out that an event that brought together the professionals of such an important and growing industry like the football industry did not exist. So we had the idea in 2015 to develop this project, and well, we carried through that project. We developed it. We started in 2015, and the first edition was, as I said before, October 2016, and since then the platform has grown. So yeah, my background has mainly been, it's an entrepreneurial background. Starting my own companies and very much so in the event business and in bringing people together and generating business opportunities. That's what Nexus is about. and through World Football Summit, we developed a project focused on that, but obviously focused on the football and sports industry.
Excellent. We're really looking forward to learning more about World Football Summit as a case study, and we're going to delve deeper as we move forward with our conversation. Just want to acknowledge some of the people we have here. So Martin, hello from Poland. We have Andre as well from Costa Rica. Let's see, there's a couple people here from Spain. We have Mohammed from London, Iñaki from Chile, welcome. Pablo from Madrid. Let's see, we have Anush from India. Hey Anush, nice to see you. Khaled from Cairo. Katia from Portugal. Wow, okay.
We lost it a long time.
List goes on and on. So welcome, guys. Thank you for telling us that the sound is coming through, okay? Just to briefly tell you about the structure for tonight. As I said, we're going to talk about the World Football Summit as a case study, and we have a few questions lined up for Jean, which we're going to, move forward with in just a moment. After that, we're going to open up the floor for your questions, so stay tuned, because at the end, you'll have a chance to ask Jean questions about the World Football Summit, about organizing events. I mean, as you just heard from him, he's got a vast array of experience in the world of events, and now with the World Football Summit in the sports industry. So lots to learn from him. And then finally, I'm just going to briefly provide a very short overview on our online master in football business and management. And the reason because we're doing this is because we are having all the students of this program attend the World Football Summit in Madrid. We've done this last year. It worked very well. The event was a big success. So looking forward to attending with our delegation this year. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. But John, to begin the conversation, I mean, you already touched upon it a little bit, but tell us a little bit more about the World Football Summit as an event.
Okay. Well, World Football Summit is a leading international event organized, which is focused on the football industry. So focused very much on the business of football, as I think everybody who's associated also to the Sport Business Institute knows. Well, football is far more than a sport, no? It's a global industry that grows at double digits and involves multiple sectors that go far beyond, the pitch and what happens during the 90 minutes of play. It's all about fan engagement. It's about media, broadcasting, technology. It's an extremely transversal sector that touches on all kinds of industries. And what makes WFS unique is that I think that we provide a voice for all the stakeholders involved. And what we try and achieve is for World Football Summit to create a platform to debate, to discuss, to promote, and basically to generate business opportunities amongst all of the players involved. As I said before, WFS the industry itself is very transversal. So obviously we have at World Football Summit, we have the big football institutions, the FIFA, the UEFA, the Federation, La Liga. We have the clubs. We have last year and this year we're going to have more than 150 clubs from all over the world. The attendees that come to World Football Summit represent over 100 different countries. We bring together over 2,000 attendees. And as I said before, coming from all different sectors. So those directly involved with the football industry, so the clubs, the leagues, the institutions, but meet social media platforms such as Facebook, technology companies such as Microsoft, Amazon, sponsors such as Rakuten, Alipay, Budweiser, and then we also have NGOs who use the power and the strength of football for development, and we also have representatives and students, who want to network and come to an event like World Football Summit to enter and find a way to work in this industry. So it's a very eclectic mix that we have at World Football Summit, and we try and give a space and a voice to all of the stakeholders involved.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that we noticed last year. We were walking around the event, and you met so many people from across different organizations in sport or related to the sports industry. So it definitely provides a lot of opportunities to network, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later on tonight.
Just to go back a second, obviously, World Football Summit is in Madrid. We've celebrated now in less than 4 weeks, on the 24th and 25th of September, we're celebrating the 4th edition of World Football Summit in Madrid. World Football Summit in Madrid is, I would say, our flagship event. It's the first event that we did, and it's a yearly event that happens every year, more or less on the same dates in Madrid. But over the years, as you know, we've also grown. Our platform has grown, and since the football industry is such a global industry, that has allowed us also to internationalize the event. So actually, the same event that we organize in Madrid, this year for the same time we organized in Asia. We did an Asian edition in Kuala Lumpur, and exactly like the event in Madrid, it was an event focused on the football industry, but obviously celebrating the event in a continent like Asia. Asia was the main actor, the key actor. So I'd say 90% of the attendees were Asian. Most of the speakers were Asian, and the topics that we discussed over the 2-day event in Asia were focused on the challenges of the football and sports industry in that region. That event, just like the one in Madrid, is also going to be an annual event. So next year again, in April, it will take place most probably in Kuala Lumpur again. But next year, we're also doing an African edition of World Football Summit. And that again, we will copy the format that we have in Madrid, but obviously give it an African twist. So the attendees there will be mostly African, the speakers as well, the sponsors as well, and the focus of the program will be focused on the challenges of the African football industry. So all of those other events that we organize, what it allows us to do as an organization is to grow out our platform, because they don't overstep on each other, rather the opposite. They allow us to reach a new audience, reach new speakers, reach new sponsors, and basically also provide different angles, and discover how global the football industry is, and how different the challenges are depending on the continent where we celebrate each one of our events.
Very interesting, and that's in fact a very good segue to the next question that we have here on screen, because you talked about the business model, starting in Madrid as the flagship event and then moving to Asia and potentially in other areas of the world. You mentioned Africa and a couple of others perhaps moving forward. So tell us about that. What are the keys to organizing a successful event, a football event in this case? As a business model, how have you guys approached it at the WFS?
Well, obviously, I think for any event, obviously there's a lot of organization around organizing a successful football event, and there are several aspects that are involved. Obviously, one of the main factors, and maybe the one that has the biggest visibility, is the content. So we always say content is king. So we identify the big issue and topics that are affecting the industry, and we build on them. But having or just debating about the key topics is not really enough. we need also to, what makes the discussions interesting, challenging, and really attractive to the people who want to attend an event like ours is obviously identifying and being able to attract the key speakers at such an event. So really building a very strong program and having the right speakers attend the summit is extremely important. Fortunately, I can say that we as an event, obviously we still have a lot of growth to do and a lot of things to improve, but we are now a very consolidated event. So let's say attracting the key names now is a lot more easier than it was at the beginning. At the beginning, when you're trying to convince a top keynote speaker to come to an event and you're just selling them an idea, it's a lot more difficult to convince them. And so that is one of the key challenges of any event, of organizing a very strong program and especially of attracting the right people, to talk about that program, to discuss the key topics that are affecting the industry. Then the other secondary, the second most important, I think, aspect of organizing an event is also attracting the right audience. So obviously you can have a fantastic program with fantastic speakers, but those speakers, they want to speak to the right people. So it's very important, to attract a quality attendees to the summit, C-level executives, people that are decision makers, and that they are very varied. So we have now people coming from, as I said before, from 100 different countries, different clubs. We have the clubs, we have the institutions, we have the companies, we have startups, we have technology companies. So bringing together all those people around the event is the key challenge that any event has. And obviously then I'd say the third element and that is maybe the key one to make it successfully, at least financially, is obviously attracting, making it financially viable. So making sure, that sponsors are interested in sponsoring an event like yours, and that people that come to an event are willing to pay for a ticket to come to the event. And basically, mixing all those three and making all those three key elements successful is, I think, are the three key ingredients to making a successful football event, but a successful event in any industry. So a top-notch program, very important keynote speakers, the right attendees, and being able to finance the whole endeavor.
Makes sense. No, very, very interesting. Now, perhaps we can touch upon that last point where you're talking about, going and securing sponsors. So as you said, when you have a lineup of fantastic guest speakers, as you guys are able to assemble year in, year out, you have the content, you have the right audience. So tell us a little bit more about how do you guys go about securing sponsors, because I'm sure a lot of people that are listening today, whether they're organizing a small event, whether they're organizing even just perhaps something like a grassroots event, they're always looking for sponsors. So I'm sure they're interested to know what is the right approach to go after sponsors and to be able to attract them, for your event.
Well, I think the challenge is giving each sponsor a unique and personalized product at the summit. And for that, I mean, we as a company, as an event organizers, we are constantly evolving and creating new products which are attractive to each individual sponsor. At the beginning, when we started with World Football Summit, we did a big mistake, which luckily we found out immediately, but we thought that maybe, the sponsors that would sponsor an event like ours were the sponsors that were sponsoring sports. And that is obviously a big mistake. So we are a B2B, event. So obviously, I don't know, Coca-Cola, who's a big sponsor of sports events, is never going to be interested in sponsoring, or is more difficult for them to sponsor an event like ours, because their strategy when looking for sponsor is B2C, and we are B2B. So we've done one of the keys for securing those sponsors is a lot of market research to see really the companies that want to promote and speak and be at a summit like ours. So probably the most important element for a company to decide to sponsor World Football Summit is to make sure that we have the right audience, and that right audience is top industry professionals from all corners of the world. Our products range from general sponsorships, which secure you a spot as a conference speaker or guiding a topic in one of our stages. So that basically allows you to talk about what you as a company are providing and what solutions you provide to the industry as a whole. You can sponsor an industry talk, so companies that have a specific service or have a success case that they want to showcase at an event like ours, with, for example, a football club or a federation. Then we have companies who instead, don't want to talk about their product but want to showcase it. So they can buy a space in our expo area where they showcase their product, and they can network and meet at the summit with potential clients. We organize also invite-only workshops with professionals already attending. So we give also a private space to companies, that want to promote their product or wanted to talk specifically about a certain sector in which they are leaders. Then we also organize B2B agendas for companies that are looking for quality leads. So obviously we, for example, at World Football Summit, we have a very powerful app that allows, all the different attendees, to network amongst each other. But sometimes, when you want to reach, I don't know, the president of La Liga or someone as important as that, he will probably not answer to a message that you send him over our app. So for those, for those more difficult contacts to make, we also provide that kind of service, where we make sure that we select you a number of attendees with which you would like to meet, and we secure those meetings within and during World Football Summit. So we have basically, we have general sponsorship options that we send to companies, but very rarely do we secure those sponsorships that way. We talk to each sponsor individually. We speak to them to understand what their strategy or what their objective would be at sponsoring or attending an event like ours, and then we tailor make our proposal depending on their objectives. So really, it's the keys for securing sponsors is creating a personal relationship with each one of those sponsors and making sure that they understand very well how our event works, the speakers that we bring, the attendees that come to our event, and in order to maximize their product and their objectives at World Football Summit. Obviously, also, for example, the fact that we have grown as an event, the fact that now we are doing events in other countries, like Malaysia, now in Africa. That also allows us, to give sponsorship options that are not only focused to one event, but that are focused to different events around the year. So, for example, if you were a sponsor right now and were interested in sponsoring World Football Summit, in 2020, we already have 4 events. In February, we're going to have an event in Africa. In April, we're going to have an event, World Football Summit Asia in Kuala Lumpur. At the end of May, we are doing another event called Football Innovation Forum, which is another event which I'll talk to you about later on, but it's a different concept and it's a different kind of event. And then again, we're going to have World Football Summit in Madrid in September, October 2020. So that basically, the fact that World Football Summit has grown as a platform allows us to offer sponsors an array of different products and to really offer them a global product which reaches a global audience. So really, now since our first edition in 2016, we've entered into contact with so many different companies. So what that has allowed us, is to build a relationship with each one of those sponsors and to grow with them as a partner, because that's what we call them. I mean, they're never sponsors, they're partners, because we believe, in partnering with them and growing together. And plus, another advantage that we have is that the global football industry is growing at such a huge pace that every year new companies come along or are born, and they're always interested in an event like ours, because ours is obviously a great platform for them to enter an industry such as ours, such as the football and sports industry.
Interesting. And going back to the point about personal relationships, one of the relationships that you guys have been building over the years is your partnership with La Liga. So, John, can you tell us a little bit more about the role that La Liga plays in World Football Summit?
Well, La Liga really it plays an important role. One, because it's an extremely important organization within the global football industry, and it's an institution that I think more than any other institute more than any other organization within the football industry has really understood how global the global football industry is, and how they really they have an international and global strategy. They're not only focused to their local market, but they know that to grow, they have to grow internationally. So actually, since the inception of World Football Summit, obviously we targeted La Liga as an as a key partner that was crucial or was very important to our growth. But actually, our partnership with La Liga was not easy, and our first edition of World Football Summit, we did not have them as our partner. Obviously, La Liga is an extremely prestigious institution. When we started, World Football Summit was just an idea, so they didn't know if World Football Summit was going to become an important event or not. So in the first edition, actually, they decided to wait and see how our first edition came along. So actually, in our first edition, they only came at the beginning. They were going to come only as attendees. Then actually 2 weeks before the event, they decided and they asked us if they could actually come and speak at the event. So obviously that was a great opportunity for us to make sure that they came to the event, that they knew us personally, and that they came to see, the potential that the event had. So luckily, Javier Tebas came and was a speaker at our first edition. He liked what he saw, and that enabled us to strengthen and to grow our relationship with them since the first edition. So in 2017, La Liga, we signed a partnership agreement with them, and since then, that partnership agreement has grown, and they've been global partners of our events in every single of our editions since. And they were global partners of our events in Asia. They will be so also in Africa, because La Liga, obviously, for La Liga, I think an event like ours is an extremely interesting platform, because we give them a space and a voice in different markets. And what they have to say in each one of our events is extremely difficult. So it is extremely different. Sorry. Javier Tebas, when he speaks in Madrid, he has his keynote is one, no, is unique to our event in Madrid. When he speaks, or when La Liga speaks in an event like World Football Summit in Asia, the message that they give is obviously focused to the Asian fans, to the Asian football industry. So it's completely different. So I think the synergies between La Liga and between an event like World Football Summit are very similar. We want to grow internationally because the football industry is a global industry, and La Liga knows that the only way that they can grow as well is to grow internationally. So that has allowed us to grow together, and our partnership has obviously been strengthened year after year with our growth.
Oh, very, very interesting. And in fact, last year when we attended, we met so many people from La Liga. Obviously, they have their global network of executives in different markets, and many of them were at the World Football Summit. So it's an excellent opportunity for those attending as well to engage with different executives, not just those speaking, but those that are attending the event. So
yeah. You know, La Liga, for example, as you said, they have the global network. That's a program that La Liga has started. And they have over 50 offices around the world, no? And they use all those offices basically to sell La Liga, to reach new partners, new sponsors, to help local leagues as well, to consult them, and all of those global networks, they come each year. Well, last year was the first time they did it, but this year they're going to do it again. So they're all going to come at World Football Summit, and basically they use also World Football Summit as a platform to invite some of the clubs, the leagues, the federations, the broadcasters, the partners with which they work in each one of their country to come to an event like World Football Summit. So yeah, our partnership with La Liga, I think, is very much a win-win situation. We provide them with a great platform for them to network, to talk about what they're doing as a league, as a company, and we are extremely happy with partnering with such a prestigious and strong organization, which is also helping us internationalize our own brand.
Excellent. Now moving on to a different topic, which you talked about briefly before. We all know that the business of football and the business of sport is changing. We hear a lot about digital transformation, and you were just telling us about the football innovation event that you guys have launched. So what are the areas from, you obviously have your finger on the pulse here because you're in this industry and you understand what are the areas that are evolving, that are emerging. So can you share with our audience, based on what you've talked to the people that you engage with, what are some of the areas that you're seeing that are transforming the industry, that are emerging, that we can expect in the future?
Yeah. Well, I think everything that has to do with technology and seizing all the opportunities that new tools can provide to the different stakeholders, from clubs to broadcasters, is going to be crucial. and in fact, it already is. Also, there's the new generation stadiums, for example. Those are going to totally reshape the sport and the industry. Real Madrid's David Hopkinson told us in a recent interview that you can read on our blog about the importance of the new Real Madrid stadium and how that is going to revolutionize not only the club but also the city of Madrid. So the football pitch has now become global, and how clubs and governing bodies expand their brands in this new market is probably going to define, I think, the global structure. And well, then there's also, I think one of the most important aspects of business areas in the business of sports is internationalization. So that is something that institutions such as La Liga is doing, but also the clubs. The clubs are, they're global media industries that reach huge amounts of audiences all over the world. And for them to be relevant to those new markets, they have to implement themselves in those new markets. But as a whole, I think the key business areas, I think it all comes down to the new ways of finding new revenue streams to monetize the billions of fans around the world. Football, and the football industry is, as I said, global media powerhouses, but really the football industry as a whole is still, in my opinion, still very much in its infancy. For example, if you see, for example, the revenue streams of a club like Real Madrid, Real Madrid is the club with the biggest earnings in world football, but their annual revenues are maybe I think close to 850 or 900 million euros. If you compare the revenue streams of Real Madrid to any big company in other sectors, the revenue is rather small. In fact, 850 million is the revenue of 2 Apple stores in New York. So that really showcases, I think, the potential, because Real Madrid, instead, as a global brand, is certainly as famous, or maybe one could say more famous than a brand like Apple. But the difference that there is between those two leaders in their own sectors is huge. So I think that is a great challenge that the whole global football industry is facing, and I think obviously technology and bridging that gap and having a closer relationship with those global fans around the world are key, is a key aspect to the business of football and the business of sport.
And we're looking forward to hearing more of those discussions in Madrid on September 24th and 25th, as I'm sure a lot of these items will be touched upon in the agenda, and how fans are consuming the sport, the new technology, the stadiums, as Jean was alluding to, the smart stadiums. So lots to talk about. By the way, Jean also mentioned the blog, the WFS blog. So really encourage you guys to follow the World Football Summits on social media. They're on Twitter, they're on Instagram, and they have the blog, and they have great content that they promote and push out on a regular basis. So go and give them a follow. Moving on, Jean, one of the things as well that I'm sure some of the audience that is listening tonight, we at SBI, we have different types of audiences. We have those that are consolidated in the industry that come to us and want to do our programs to further develop and equip themselves to have leadership positions in the industry. We then have others that transition from other sectors and want to get into the football industry. And then we have those that are starting out, that are breaking into the industry. And sometimes they wonder, what are some of the skills needed to break into the football industry? And obviously, you deal with a lot of top executives, decision makers, in organizing your event. So have you noticed any common skills that our audience listening tonight could benefit as to what they can hone on and what areas they can develop if they're looking to continue their career development in football or in the sports industry?
Well, really, I think not really. I mean, I think that sports organizations are companies, and the only problem is that many times, or up until very recently, they haven't acted as companies. But now more, the whole industry is professionalizing, so more and more so, they're acting as companies. And just like any company, I think the executives need to be prepared for the challenges any company faces in a globalized world where things change at a tremendous pace, and where executives have to be prepared for the changing landscape which is happening in every single sector. And obviously in that technology is key. But I don't think there's a common skill that is only for sports executives. In fact, I think really the challenge is that I think working in the sports industry is extremely attractive because so many people want to work for their club, for the institution, or for football or for sports, because sports creates such huge passion. But I think a top executive from, I would say, I don't know, any company that is working in Microsoft, in Amazon, in Facebook, or in a startup, has the skills to work for the sports industry, because the skills that the clubs or that the sports industry needs are the same skills that any company in any strong sector wants. The problem is that the sports industry is not yet as big as other industries. So that is why there are not so many opportunities, and that's why many times it's such a big challenge. And that you can see it, I think, in an event like ours. World Football Summit is a big event in the global football industry, and in Madrid we attract over 2,000 attendees. But if you compare our event to events in other sectors, for example, technology, I always look at technology events such as Web Summit, for example, that happens in Lisbon, or Slush that happens in Finland. In Lisbon, Web Summit attracts 80,000 attendees, and that is because it's an event on technology, and technology is such a huge industry. So obviously in that industry there are many more opportunities. So the sports industry is I think it's an industry that has a huge potential, that is growing at a tremendous pace, and that will become larger and larger as years go by. But the skills that the sports industry is looking for are the skills that any company really looks for. So I think if you're well prepared, if you're capable, if you're good at your job, you'll find that you will find a space with a top club, with a top organization, or even with an event company like ourselves.
100%. It's about adding value to the market, and there's a lot of transferable skills, as you well said, from other sectors and other industries. So we obviously notice that as well, as that's the industry we focus on in providing that executive training to those that are transitioning or developing or starting a career in the football league.
You can see it also if you go to the World Football Summit website and you, for example, see the profiles of the attendees that or the speakers at the summit, and you read their profiles. They are extremely diverse, and nobody has left university, or very few of them left university and started working for the industry. They've all evolved They were all worked in different industries, and for one reason or the other, they landed in the industry, or in the football industry. But their background and their expertise are very diverse, and that showcases, I think, the need that the sports industry has to have profiles from as diverse as possible.
Definitely. Now, you mentioned the attendees and how diverse their background is. The other thing as well is that in order to go as an attendee, as a delegate to these events, you can really maximize them and optimize the way that you attend these events. And we always believe that if you research, if you prepare, and if you do the work beforehand, you're bound to have better opportunities to have success as far as building a network and building those relationships at these events. But obviously you come from the events industry and the events world. So what are some tips you would give to our audience tonight as to how best to leverage and optimize their networking opportunities at the World Football Summit?
Yeah, well, we as an event, I think our focus really is that for every single attendee that comes to World Football Summit, whether it be a speaker, a sponsor, an exhibitor, an attendee, a student, is for us to provide the right platform to create the best networking experience and to generate business, whether those are leads, whether those are contacts, and those contacts can be existing contacts or new contacts, And so we try and focus and make a strong effort to provide the best possible atmosphere and the best possible and the best possible elements to ensure that the networking experience at an event like ours is maximized. So obviously I think we have different networking spaces in our World Football Summit, so everybody or most people are free to speak with everybody. It's an open space for pretty much everybody. We do have obviously a corporate area for VIP, for corporate passes, but more or less we create an atmosphere where everybody can network with each other. We have a networking area. We do speed networking sessions. On the night of the 24th, we organize the World Football Summit Industry Awards. We also do a social evening where we allow, where everybody basically we bring together everybody who comes to World Football Summit so that they can network. And one of the most important aspects of networking is obviously the World Football Summit app. The World Football Summit app is actually, we're going to be launching it next week on Monday. So everybody that has a ticket to World Football Summit will be able to view all of the different attendees that are attending the summit, as well as the profiles of all of the speakers that are at the summit. And it allows you to message each one of the people attending the summit, but also to close meetings with them. So there's an agenda which allows you to request a meeting with a certain person, and that certain person will either accept, reject, or propose a different time for you to meet at World Football Summit. So I think it's very important to have a strategy when you're using that app, for example. So I think it's important to prepare beforehand. So I would not, try and connect with every single person, that you see there. Really, focus on your objectives. And when you actually send a message to somebody or request a meeting, prepare a message, because many times, if the message is right, and you maybe, you tell that person a relevant question or a relevant topic that you want to speak with that person, the probability of that person responding or accepting to the request of the meeting is a lot higher than if you simply bombard every single person that you see there. So our website, for example, the profiles of all of the speakers are there. On the networking app as well, you will see the profiles of everybody who's attended. Make sure also, if you already have your ticket for World Football Summit, actually these next days from now to World Football Summit, it's when the avalanche of inscriptions arrive. I mean, we try and engage and try to attract attendees with as much time as possible. But unfortunately, more than 50% of the attendees that confirm the last month. So every day, new speakers and new attendees are added to the app. So I think it's an extremely strong tool to really, maximize your presence at an event like ours. And actually, we tested this new app this year in Malaysia, in our World Football Summit Asia event. It's a new app. It's different from last year's, and I think it's a lot better, and it's very user-friendly. So it's, I think, one of the strongest tools that anybody at World Football Summit has, to really maximize that presence. I think our objective, is, if you're buying your ticket for World Football Summit, is that investment that you've done, because I know it's an investment. The idea is that investment after the 2-day event looks cheap. That is our challenge. And I think if you prepare for the summit properly, and you use all of the tools that we have to network and build relationships at an event like ours, I mean, I think I can assure you that investment as an attendee buying your ticket is going to be well spent.
100%. No, these are really good insights you're sharing with us. And just as an aside, as we said, we have a delegation of SBI students that attends the World Football Summit, those that are part of our master's program. And one of the things we do is we provide them with a guide. And it's exactly what you were just saying before about having an objective, having a clear message when you're looking to connect with someone, and that optimizes the opportunity. So love it that we're in sync exactly with the way we also recommend preparing beforehand when attending these events. So excellent. So for those that are part of the SBI community, we're going to be getting in touch with you guys as well through our newsletter and letting you know there is some special personalized offers with the World Football Summit. So get in touch with our team if you're interested in knowing more about them. And of course, those that are part of our Master in Football Business Management do get a pass to attend the event. Finally, I mean, I think we've covered a lot and we've pretty much touched upon all the points already, but anything else, John, that you want to tell us about attending the World Football Summit, and what can we expect further to what you've already shared with us?
Well, I don't know. I think I've pretty much talked about everything, but I think we have an extremely interesting program, which actually organizing a program is always a bit of a challenge. But next week also we're announcing the first topics. But we're gonna have I think over 35 different conferences, which are going to touch every aspect of the football industry. So I would also, advise, to stay in touch also with everything that we're announcing. We have a newsletter where we announce new speakers, where we announce the panel sessions, the different sponsors that we have. Our website is updated continuously. So is all of our social media. So I would really advise that you follow everything that we are announcing. Sometimes, and especially now, maybe it might look as if we are bombarding our followers with too much information, but we've got so much to communicate, and actually there are so many things that we don't communicate that I think it's, you know, if you stay alert about all the things that we're announcing, all the people that we're bringing to Madrid for this 2-day event, that it's going to be key, you know, to making a successful event. And if you know you don't have the ability, or you don't have the you can't travel to Madrid for the event, we're also going to live stream all of our panel sessions through Facebook Live on our Facebook page. So it's obviously not going to be the same as being a World Football Summit, but I think it will give you some very interesting insights, you know, to many of our speakers and to many of the panels that are going to be taking place at World Football Summit.
Excellent, John. Well, for us, it's an absolute pleasure to be partnering with World Football Summit and have our delegation of students attend. We really found a lot of value in the event last year, and we're convinced that this year is going to be the same, and looking forward to obviously seeing you there at the event. At this stage, what we could do is we could, I mean, we're a little bit short on time, but we can open up the floor. If there's 2 or 3 questions, perhaps we could take them from the chat. So if you have a question for Jean, go ahead and type it in the chat box, and we'll address them. Yeah, so we'll just let me have a look here at the chat. Nestor, so Nestor, hi Nestor. Nestor from the US says, is there any future plans on a summit in North or South America? So that's a great question.
Absolutely. I mean, actually, that is the kind of the event that we're still missing, but it's certainly in our objective. Next year, actually, our plan is to do an event each quarter in each continent. So actually, next year, the first quarter is going to be Africa, the second is going to be Asia, the third is going to be Europe. So we are actually really looking forward to finding the right partner to celebrate an event in the American continent. I think obviously the location for any event is extremely important. So there are a few cities, you know, that we're looking into, and we are already in advanced discussions with a few countries. And hopefully, you know, maybe it won't be next year, but I think by 2021 at the very latest, we will be landing in the American continent.
Excellent. No, and it's interesting to see that you're not only just expanding internationally, but you're also expanding as far as focusing on different areas, as you talked about before, the innovation event that you guys are running. And I know at some point you guys ran one in Bilbao as well. So interesting to see that you guys are always looking to innovate. Yeah.
Well, you know, World Football Summit it's a large event. It's a general event on the football industry. So as I said, we do touch into several topics that affect the industry and the sector. So sometimes, you know, some of the criticisms we received is that we didn't focus on a particular area, and that's why we did the Football Innovation Forum, which was a different kind of format. It was only actually a one-day event. It was only invite only, and there we focused really on innovation, on technology. We only had 4 panels. We did not want more than 120 attendees. And it's also, you know, a kind of event which caters to a different type of attendee. So we're always, you know, trying to invent new products and stay in and producing, you know, different formats that are attractive to different people.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. By the way, I want to thank Jin Shin, who's been summarizing a lot of the points that Jean has been sharing. So Jin, thank you very much. He had practically the same question, which was what is the World Football Summit's next move? But I think you've covered that already. So perhaps we have one more question that we can tackle tonight, and Obviously, the conversation can remain alive if you guys want to engage with us on Twitter. We can continue discussing. If you have any questions, this webinar will also be uploaded on YouTube, so you guys can watch the replay. But there's a question here from Shanaz. Shanaz is a very active member of the SBI community. So hi, Shanaz, and she's based in Asia, and she asks if the World Football Summit was held in Kuala Lumpur because the ACC house is there. Is that one of the reasons why you guys strategically went there?
That was certainly one of the reasons. Yeah, the Asian Football Confederation's headquarters is Kuala Lumpur. So that was one of the reasons. I mean, basically, when deciding on a location for any event, I think location is key. And having the Asian Football Confederation based in Kuala Lumpur was one of the key elements that made us decide. We actually also have a local partner, which is Malaysian. So they are based in Malaysia. So that was another key element. Singapore, which is maybe one of the most important hubs for the Asian sports industry, having so many companies that are based in Singapore. And Singapore is a 20-25 minute flight to Kuala Lumpur. So having such an important hub close by was also very a key element. And then, the fact that Kuala Lumpur, is a very important city. It has an extremely important airport, and it's easily accessible really certainly from all over Asia, but also from all over the world. So those, I think, were all the key elements for us choosing Kuala Lumpur as our location for Asia.
Excellent. Well, thank you. That cleared things up for the questions tonight. So thanks to all of you who've been engaged with us tonight, and for those that have been asking questions, sorry if we weren't able to answer all of them. At this point, I just want to briefly talk about our master's program, because it is linked in a way to the World Football Summit, in the sense that it's an 8-month program, but what we've done as of last year is we have identified the World Football Summit as our starting point for the master's program. Our master's program, which is an online 8-month masters, starts in Madrid, in the sense that we gather our delegates in the back end of September in Madrid, and then we study online for 8 months, and then we have an event in Barcelona. But we've identified the World Football Summit as an excellent opportunity for those to come and meet before getting started with our program. So those that enroll to our master's program have a pass to attend the World Football Summit. You can learn more about our masters on our website, which is sbibarcelona.com. And in fact, Jean has talked a lot about the points that he has identified as key for the World Football Summit, as far as the content and attracting the right speakers. So in many ways, that resonates with what we do at SBI, because we really focus on providing the knowledge, the network, providing that mentorship and guidance to those that are looking to start or advance a career in the football industry. And then we also provide them with experiences, with opportunities to engage with decision makers in the football industry. As I said before, we start in Madrid at the World Football Summit, and then we end in Barcelona in 2020 with our corporate tour, where we gather our delegates and we bring them to Barcelona. So if you want to learn more about how you can become a member of the SBI family by studying our master's program, check out our website. These are some of the executives that have come through our doors and done courses with us, plus many more that have been part of our community, and our alumni community continues to grow. So if you want to learn more about this master's program and how you can attend the World Football Summit before the course starts, you can go to our website at sbibarcelona.com. So we hope to see you in Madrid this year at the WFS. There you see a picture of our students from last year that participated in the conference. If you want to know more, you can contact myself or the rest of our team, which you see here on screen. Feel free to reach out to us. You have all the contact details there. You can also, as I said before, get in touch with the World Football Summit. They're active on social media, on Twitter, on Instagram, the blog that Jean mentioned before. And finally, to thank you, because we've been together for the past hour. So hopefully you've had a chance to gain additional insights as to how the World Football Summit operates, how an event that has grown in the past 4 years and has become a flagship event in the football industry has really had an opportunity to bring together executives from all around the world for the football industry. And finally, at this point, I'd like to acknowledge you, Jean, because you've taken the time to come and speak with us tonight. You've shared your journey. We've seen the growth of World Football Summit, and just to acknowledge you as an entrepreneur, as a leader in the industry, as someone who has been an inspiration, in fact, for many that have seen what you've done with the World Football Summit and having it grow. And we're looking to continue to engage with you and the rest of the WFS team in September. So thanks again for taking the time to be here with us tonight.
Thank you, Diego, and thanks everybody for listening to me for over an hour. It's been a pleasure, and it's always a fantastic opportunity for me to be able to share our story.
Excellent, John. Well, look forward to catching up in Madrid. Thank you for your time tonight. And good luck with the rest of the planning as you get ready for the back end of September for the big event. So all the best, John. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for being here tonight. All the best.
Bye.